Morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Utpala, and welcome to the fifth class of Foundation Course number 2 on Buddhist refuge. And today we're going to get into the definition of nirvana. What does nirvana mean? Uh, and before we get started, let's get in touch with our motivation for being here today, our motivation for taking this class. And just bring to mind, think over like the past few hours, even just that. And think of how many times and in what ways did this feeling of dissatisfaction or suffering arise in your mind? Could be physical, could be mental, could could have been really low level dissatisfaction. Low level, like just having to shift your body to get into a more comfortable position. Or you could have had a bout of jealousy or anger or dismay at something in the world. It could have been that were doing something you enjoyed, like having a delicious meal, and then it ended. Or watching the sunset or the sunrise and looking at its beauty, and then it was finished. All throughout the day, these low level sufferings are going on. We experience them. We're so used to most of them, we don't give them much mind. We don't think about them much. But imagine, what would it feel like? What what's the experience of being completely free of suffering? No negative thoughts, no dissatisfaction, no, dissatisfaction, no, negative thoughts, no dissatisfaction, no, 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 dissatisfaction, no What would that be like? We've never known. And what would it be like if everyone, everywhere, all living beings, from animals to humans to all those beings we can't even see, what would it be like if no one suffered? If no one had any dissatisfaction? What would our world be like? Sashi Puki Chukshing Me Jog Chang Rirabling Shi Ninde Gempadi Sange Shindu Mikte Oarki Jokun Namdak Shingla Juparsho Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamnirya Dayami Sangye Chiran Soki Chuknam La Jangchu Pardu Dakni Kyapsuchi Daki Chishe Gipe Sunam Ki Jola Penchir Sangye Juparsho Sangye Chiran Soki Chuknam La Jangchu Pardu Dakni Kyapsuchi Daki Chishe Gipe Sunam Ki Jola Penchir Sangye Rupasho Sangye Chiran Soki Chuknam La Jangchu Pardu Dakni Kyapsuchi Daki Chishe Gipe Sunam Ki Jola Pinchir Sangye Uparsho. So before we get started, um, does anyone have any questions from previous classes? Always have to ask because it's a rule for a teacher. Not really, but So we just do as per usual then. Ask questions in the chat as we go along. Now, don't freak out by how long this Tibetan document is. What I do when I prepare these Tibetan documents is that I go through when Geshe Michael taught the course, and I find all of the Tibetan words and phrases that he used in the class. Even when students are asking questions about this and that. So your document that I prepare for you has a lot more Tibetan in it than if you're just focusing on the content of this particular class. Okay, so it's meant as, you know, for those of you who are interested in learning Tibetan, it's meant to just help you as you are broadening your vocabulary. You can see how words are spelled, words and phrases are spelled. Okay. All right. So we are going to talk about nirvana. And as per usual, we're going to start with the definition of nirvana. And the definition is here. Ah, little mouse, time to wake up. So it's a little bit long. I'll read it for you. And then if you could repeat the words after me. Myong drip malupar pangpe sosor tako nyangde gitseni. Say nyondrip malupar pangpe sosor tako nyangde ki tseni. Okay, so we start here at the end. And yang, this word here in the script, and then in the Roman characters, that the transliteration of the Tibetan script into Roman characters, it starts with a my, and that my sound is pronounced as an ny sound, nya. So it's not mia, it's nya. So nyang in this definition, it's short for nyang and lei. Nyang and lei. So what they did, you can see they sort of Tibetan does this a lot. It concatenates words, or it puts two words together and makes them shorter. So it took the first part of nyang, and it took the last part of yin and stuck it on the end. So Nyang Yin Lei is written in this definition as Nyang. So Nyang Yin Lei, this the Sanskrit word is nirvana, Nyang Yin Lei Depa, Yang De. The Sanskrit word is nirvana. This is how it's spelled with diacritics. The near is comes from the Sanskrit word root nich, which means out, out. And van, that came into English in the words vent and ventilation, wind. So it means to blow, to blow. So nirvan means to blow out, like a candle. You blow out a candle. And that's a very interesting Sanskrit word, right? To Well, we'll get into it today. What we're going to blow out. So that in Tibetan, these words, Nyang and Lendepa, they don't mean to blow out. So na yin, that means grief. You could say sorrow, but it really means grief. That very strong, heavy feeling of grief. Lei can mean many things for you Tibetanologists, but here it means beyond, beyond. And Depa means past, in the past. So Nyanganle Depa, what's nirvana in Sanskrit, is to go beyond grief in Tibetan. To blow out in Sanskrit is to go beyond grief in Tibetan. And then Tseni means definition, and ki means up. So in our definition here, this last bit, it means the definition of going beyond grief. Great. So we really only have to worry about this part. Now we have some more combinations and abbreviations of words. Nyon drip is how it starts out. Nyon drip. Nyon. So this is a combination of two words. The first word is nyonmon. So you see, they just dropped off the mong part of the word and just used nyon. And nyon mong, does anybody know nyon mong? It's negative thoughts, negative emotions. Yes, thank you, Monbu. Klesha in oh, did I not write that? I thought I did. Klesha in Sanskrit. Mental affliction, sometimes people call it. But I think Geshe Michael's moved away from mental affliction to negative thoughts or negative emotions. And here's the definition of a negative emotion. Rangdang sungden kitsem kyuma shiwar chepe rikne kitsem jun. Negative emotions is any thought that ruins your peace of mind. Any thought that disturbs your mind. Is negative. Well, what it represents is something that's negative. It's a thought that disturbs you. So like I love this definition because it's like made for practitioners, people who are practicing these teachings, because if we're going through our day and we just notice that my mind is, I feel a little disturbed, I feel a little off, a little so that gives us a clue there's some negative emotion going on, and we can look closer and identify what is that? What is that thought? What is that mistaken thought? How am I mistaken right now in my thinking? So that we can we can apply the teachings and apply corrective action right there in the moment when we're feeling this because they're not. The more we practice, the more subtle these negative emotions become, right? We learn how to control, like gross anger, for example, or very strong jealousy, or very strong disturbance about that. That's not the way things should be. Like those all calm down, and so our negative emotions become much more subtle. So we can use that clue of feeling a little bit disturbed, a little bit unsettled. Use that as a clue to see, oh, what am I thinking right now? What mistake am I making? Anyway, so that's nyonmo, negative emotion, or klesha in I'll put it in here since I forgot to put it in the documents. Klesha in Sanskrit. And that word, klesha, it comes from a root, klish. Klish. And klish means to bug somebody, to bother somebody, to pick at somebody. So our negative emotions are picking at our peace of mind. Grip. That means an obstacle, something that blocks us from something. It blocks us from seeing something, or from reaching somewhere, or achieving something. And then together as one word, nyon drip, This is a technical definition or a technical word, and it's a little awkward. It means a mental affliction obstacle, a negative emotion obstacle. And what this this negative emotion obstacle is blocking us from is nirvana. And we have to get through the rest of the definition to find out more about that. But we will. So it's a mental affliction obstacle. That's how the definition starts out. Um, when as you know, being a student of these classes, every time our mind moves, every time we have a thought or we say something or we do something, we are planting seeds in our mind, uh, bakchaks. And these seeds, they're not a physical thing, right? They're not a mental thing. They're neither physical nor mental. They are potential. So when we do something, we create the potential. We create our potential future experience of a similar thing. Now, some of you took the karma course with me, and we get into that in a lot more detail. But suffice it to say that when we're planting seeds, it's not, I mean, seed makes sense because, you plant a seed and it grows, it gets bigger, and then it it manifests as something, right? So if we have a moment of um if we have a moment of being dissatisfied with something, like even just the way we're sitting, and we move to get more comfortable, um we are planting the seed to um to be reacting towards discomfort, and it's going to be much bigger when it ripens. But that seed isn't a thing. It takes no space. It takes no time. It's just a potential. So bok choks, different schools talk about them differently, but they pretty much agree. It's just where these bok choks are. But because they're not physical and they're not mental, they don't really need a place. um, so different schools say they are somewhere different. Mind only school, for example, says they are in a eighth consciousness called foundation consciousness, that it holds these bakchaks, these potentials. The consequence branch of the middle way says something very different. But that it is related to a thought in the mind. But anyway, our mind is like filled with countless bakchaks, countless potentials that we've created. We've been doing this since beginningless time, creating 67 bakchaks every second. So there's a lot of them. Of course, they're ripening into our experience too. But there's a lot there, wherever there is. And we can think of bakchak as like a stain on our mental consciousness. So the mental affliction obstacle is like a stain on our mental consciousness, a stain on our mind that's blocking us from nirvana. So we have all different kinds of negative emotions that we have experienced in the past, right? When we experiencing them, we are planting these bakchaks to experience them again in the future. And in between when we plant them and when they ripen into an experience, they are growing exponentially every day, bigger and bigger and bigger. If we don't purify them, stop their growth. So we have all of these potentials that have stained our mind to experience all different kinds of negative emotions. Now, are all bakchaks negative? Are all seeds negative? Well, if you are like me, if you are not a realized being, then pretty much every seed we plant has some negative aspect to it, because we are under the misunderstanding about how the world is, because our minds are infected with this misunderstanding. Even when we do something positive for somebody else, even when we feed someone else, or give money to someone else, or share a smile with someone else, there's this, because of this mistaken idea, it's like, and it may not even be a strong thought, but it's like we expect to get something back. I smile so that you will smile at me. I feed you so that, may I be fed. There's this tinge of like, I'm doing this because there's something in it for me. I'm not doing it 100% for this other person. We can practice doing 100%, like with bodhicitta at the beginning, of when we learn about bodhicitta and we think, oh, that's interesting. I would like to have the wish for an enlightenment in order to benefit all living beings. At the beginning, we have to we have to bring it up. We have to think about it. Um, so, but that's good practice. That's more positive bok chok than not. So we become used to, like, we talked the other day about how at the first level of bodhicitta, um, the first level of the wish is the one where, like, oh, my teacher said that I'm seeing things the wrong way. Gosh, I I think maybe I am seeing things the wrong way. Like, it's a question in our mind. And that is a positive movement on the path, to have that question. No drip. That's very funny. But most of the time, the seeds we are planting, the bok choks we are creating, the potentials we're creating are negative, and they're ones that we will want to panja, which means ones that we are going to want to remove or purify. Um, okay, so that's the first word, yondrip. The next word is malupa, which means in their entirety. Totally, all of them. Literally, it means, because those of you learning Tibetan, you'll see, there's this negative particle, ma, lupa. And so literally what this word phrase means is with nothing left over. Nothing left over, which means everything, all in entirety. Bangpa, that means to eliminate, to remove from your mental consciousness, the stream of your mental consciousness. Sosor takok, we have to talk about this. Gokpa, we did talk about this word in a previous class when we talked about cessation. Cessation. We talked about how when you see emptiness directly in meditation for the first time, that you will have a cessation of doubt in the teachings, which just means you no longer have doubt. You once had doubt, and then it's gone. It ceased to exist. So we shouldn't confuse Gokpa with emptiness. They're both in absence, right? If something has ceased, we can't find it. It doesn't exist, can't be found. If something is empty, it is and we're going to get into this in future class, but just to, as a little preview, it's an absence of a particular way of being, an absence of being self-existent. So they're both absences. But emptiness is a very particular absence. And it's about something that never existed, doesn't exist, never will exist. It's the absence of an impossible way of being, self-existent. A cessation, on the other hand, is the absence of something that used to exist. It did exist, and now it no longer does. It ceased. So they're similar things, but they're two very different things. Okay. So it's interesting. We talked about the absence of. Oh, let's go through the rest. I should go through the rest of the phrase first. Yeah. So once something is absent, once something has ceased to exist, it's an unchanging thing. It remains equally so. It has ceased to exist from that moment until the end of time, which doesn't exist. So it's unchanging. So sort of. Okay, I will talk about this thing now. There are two kinds of cessation, two kinds of things that have ended. The first is like what I just talked about with the direct perception of emptiness. Because you saw emptiness directly, doubt in the path has ended. You, even though things will appear, still look to you like they're coming at you, even though things will look to have some kind of nature from their own side. You will never be fooled by that again. You will never be deceived by appearances. You will be unmistaken in your intellectual belief that things are coming from these bakchags ripening into your experience. That's where things come from. They come from how we have treated others in the past. And then the other kind of cessation are ones that we're not talking about in this definition. It's not part of sosor tak gok. Maybe I should talk about what this is first. Okay, sosor tak. Sosor means individually or one by one so sore. And then tak. This means to examine, to analyze. So sore tak is to analyze one by one. Analyze what? On this, the second part of the path of seeing, right? The third path. The first part is that 20 minutes or 30 minutes of the direct perception of emptiness in meditation. The second part of the path of seeing, which lasts the rest of the day. So hopefully you see emptiness directly in the morning, so you have more time, because what happens next is really cool, I think. After you have seen emptiness directly for the first time, then you have an experience of what's called the four Arya truths. The four Arya truths. Each truth has four aspects. So that means there are 16 truths, if you will, that you analyze each one of these individually. So sortak. These four truths, you come to realize them. That's why they're called Arya truths. They are realization of someone who has seen directly how the world is. So, what are these four truths? There's the truth of suffering. And we talked a little bit about that in our meditation this morning, our brief little motivation meditation. That everything we experience in our particular form of existence right now, if you're like me, is suffering. It's either obvious pain, physical or mental, or very subtle, physical or mental, or the fact that every time we get something good, it will end, it will die. We find the perfect person and they die, or they leave us, or we die. Every time you get a brand new car, oh, it smells so good, looks so pretty. There will be the first ding. Someone will open their door into your car and you'll have a death. It will happen. Nothing good ever lasts. So the truth of suffering, that's the first of the four Arya truths. The second truth is the truth of the cause of suffering. You see, well, actually, we should say that as you are realizing these four Arya truths, you're looking at your life. You have doubt in the path has completely cease to exist, you look at your life and you see everything is suffering. Everything is suffering. Then you look at your life and you see, I caused suffering. I'm the one who caused this suffering. No one did anything to me. No one opened their car door into my car and gave it a dent. You know, I harmed someone else's belongings, and that's how I got a dent in my car. I've created so many potentials, so many bok choks for the future experience of suffering. And I have to be so careful now because I realize this is what's going on. Then the third truth is the truth of the end of suffering. We see, after having the direct perception, we see that we will become a being who is totally, fully enlightened. We see our future enlightenment. We know it will happen. We have entered the stream to reach complete and total freedom from suffering, and then also omniscience if we're on the bodhisattva path, or track, I should say. And then the fourth Arya truth is that we see there is a path to reach this state of being that is completely free of suffering. We see, for example, how many more lifetimes as a suffering being, how many more lifetimes we will go through before we reach total enlightenment. They say it's typically 7 lifetimes. And we see what those lives will be like. We see that we'll be born in good families, will be educated well, taught how to communicate, how to think. We will be introduced to the Dharma at a young age. So we will pick up, continuing our journey on the 5 paths, right? The path of habituation will be those number of lives. We see all this, we realize all this about each of the truths individually. And then if we get detailed about it, about each of the 4 aspects of each of the 4 truths, individually, one by one. So so talk is the phrase individual analysis, or examining one by one, specifically relates to what an Arya is going through at the beginning of the second half of the 3rd path, the path of seeing. You haven't yet gotten up off your meditation cushion to start the rest of your day. This is what you realize through analysis, because you have seen directly how things are. So, by the presence of this phrase, sosortak, in this definition of nirvana, we know that, okay, the definition has within it an Arya, a person who has seen emptiness directly. And gulk, again, means a cessation. Oh, just if you're interested, sorry to be moving around so much here. Where did it go? There it is. Denshi. Those are the four truths. Denshi. So sosor ta gulk. Individual analysis cessation. This is a cessation that comes from having seen the four Arya truths. Based on having seen emptiness directly. So we're talking specifically of the second half of the third path, the path of seeing. So cessation, like I said, related to the third path is the cessation of doubt in the teachings. Now, are there any cessations that happen on other paths? I mean, nirvana is basically, we've identified that it's limited to this one, the cessations of the third path. There are more as well, but just we're not getting into that on the third path. But there are things that cease on earlier paths. And which is really cool. There is this phrase that we'll basically talk a lot about when we talk about the bodhisattva, how to live like a bodhisattva. It's 3 different courses, 9, 10, 10, 11, and 12. But Getsa Che. Getsa Che. Tsa means root. Ge means virtue. And Che, in this spelling, means to cut. To cut your root of virtue. So there are, maybe we talked about this in the Karma course. I think maybe we did. There are things we can do, that will cut our root of virtue, meaning it will destroy our root of virtue. All those, whatever virtuous potentials we've created, we can destroy them all. And one way of doing so is with lokta, or wrong view, particularly about karma. Thinking that, oh, karma doesn't exist. If no one sees me doing negative things, there's no problem. It's really just, I should be nice and I should look good in front of other people. That's all that really matters. So wrong view, particularly about karma. Oh, nothing I do matters. Has no effect on anybody else. It doesn't create what I experience in the world. That's nonsense. And it makes me very nervous because there's a group of people who and I'm trying to understand this group. They consider themselves students of the Buddhist teachings, but they don't believe in karma. They think karma is some sort of mystical nonsense. And I really I'm trying to find a way to talk with them to help them stop creating such negative karma by by thinking there's no karma. Anyway, it's a very negative view. So it's possible, and things change if we don't. And let me just mention that we may have a real strong interest in the Buddhist teachings right now. We may be a dedicated and conscientious practitioner of the Buddhist teachings, but we also need to plant seeds to remain interested in these teachings. Like, we shouldn't forget, not only do we want to create, total and complete enlightenment, right? But, until then, may I always be interested in the teachings. May I always find good teachers who teach me how to live these teachings, who teach me how to be on this path of getting out of suffering. We have to make these aspirations. We have to plant these seeds for the lives we have between now and when we become fully enlightened. Because I've seen where people have been very interested and then poof, it just disappears. Like, oh, I no longer believe that Buddhist stuff. Yeah, it's not true. It's very dangerous. For if we are interested in these teachings, and if we want to become totally enlightened to benefit all living beings, that should be a very scary thought, right? We should be doing what we can to plant the seeds, to remain engaged with and interested in these ideas. Okay. So why did I bring up cutting the root of virtue? That's a downer, Utpala. I brought this up because at the path of accumulation, we will no longer be able to cut our root of virtue. That's cool. We will have a cessation of that possibility. It will not be possible after that point to cut our root of virtue. That's the good news. And then on the second path, the path of preparation, we reach a point where it's no longer possible for us to take rebirth in the lower realms. In the hell realms, the hungry ghost realms, or the animal realms. Again, we should dedicate towards being born as a human so that we have all the right conditions to practice the Dharma. But at that, there's a cessation of that possibility. No longer possible to be born in the lower realms at the second path. And then, of course, as we continue on the path of habituation, our practice is we're getting more and more cessations. Like as we talked about, the third level of bodhicitta, there is the cessation of things appearing to us to exist from their own side. But those cessations that happen on the fourth path, those are also sosortako. Those cessations have come from having seen emptiness directly and having realized one by one, analyzed one by one, the four Arya truths. So those are that kind of cessation. Those other kind that I mentioned with the path of accumulation and the path of preparation, those are called Sosartak Mingok. And those of you who are studying Tibetan, that min is a negative. So it's a phrase that doesn't make any sense in English. A non-individual analysis cessation. All it means is that it's a cessation that doesn't have to do with having seen emptiness directly and analyzed the four Arya truths. Okay. Whew, okay. So a synonym for Nyangde, which is wait a minute. I need to do something first. Let's just say what the definition of nirvana is. Let's put all those words together. Nirvana, or gone beyond grief, is defined as the permanent cessation in which one has eliminated the mental affliction obstacles in their entirety due to one's individual analysis. Gone beyond grief, or nirvana, is the permanent cessation in which one has eliminated the mental affliction obstacles in their entirety due to one's individual analysis. Which may appear on your homework, which does appear in your homework. Okay, so a synonym for Nyangde, for gone beyond grief, is tarpa. Say tarpa. This means freedom, or moksha in Sanskrit. So they freedom and Nyangde refer to the same state. They are synonymous words. So by eliminating our mental affliction obstacles, that what we're doing is we're not only getting rid of negative emotions, but we're also getting rid of bakchaks for negative emotions, the potential for negative emotions. So we're emptying out. If we were in the mind-only school, we'd be like, why do I have a foundation consciousness? I am no longer collecting negative emotion seeds. I don't need a foundation consciousness. We're clearing that out. Like we talked about the third level of bodhicitta, someone who they don't have the seeds for things to appear to them to be coming from outside. I'm sorry, they don't experience seeing things coming from their side, but they still have seeds for that to happen in the future. So we would consider those seeds, those potentials, to be a mental affliction obstacle. It's keeping them from experiencing freedom from suffering. It's keeping them from going beyond grief. Those seeds, even though they're not going to ripen, there's still some energy about them that is impeding us from the experience of total freedom, from having gone totally beyond suffering. So we're going to start the discussion, which will continue on Friday. But we'll start the discussion of the nominal, in name only, division of nirvana into four. There are many types of nirvana, but this text that we're using, right? Kedab Tempe Darge's text, commenting on Maitreya's text, Jewel of Realizations, talks about Nominally speaking, there are 4 types of nirvana. And we're going to start with the, should I say, particularly nominal one. And it's called Rangshin Langde. Rangshin Langde. Rangshin means natural or nature. Rangshin. And to talk about what this is, we're going to talk about the 2 truths. Now, we don't confuse those with the 4 Arya truths. And to call these truths, these 2, is also, it's also nominally speaking. Because one of them is not a truth. The first truth is Dun Dan Dempa. Say Dun Dam Dempa. Dun Dam means ultimate. Ultimate. And Dempa means truth. Ultimate truth. This is one way of thinking about this, is that ultimate truth is half of existence. So if ultimate truth is half of existence, well, let's say what ultimate truth is. Ultimate truth is the wisdom that understands that nothing has a self-nature. The wisdom that understands that nothing has any quality from its own side, that nothing is self-existent. That is ultimate truth. Kunzo Tempa. Kunzo has been translated in unfortunate ways into English. Hopefully not into your languages. But what it means is deceptive. Deceptive. So deceptive truth. So this is why we can't call it really 2 truths, because deceptive truth, that makes no sense, right? We call it an oxymoron in English. Oxymoron. I'm making myself laugh a lot today. Deceptive truth. And what this means is that to a deceived state of mind, things appear to exist from their own side. Things appear, we talked in mixed nuts class on Monday, sortong. Things appear to be coming this way. They're coming at me, not from me. And why we have to say to a deceived state of mind is because Aryas are no longer deceived, right? They may see things that way, but they are not deceived. They know that is a mistake in their perceptions due to their own past actions towards other people. And they know that those kinds of perceptions are going to be eliminated on the rest of their journey to total and complete enlightenment. Okay, so we've got ultimate, maybe reality instead of truth for Demba. Ultimate reality and deceptive reality. What is this thing? I mean, not what you call it, but which kind of reality does it belong to? If you are who you appear to be. Right, Wangbu. It's deceptive reality. It appears to be, something that was made in a pen factory. And it's something that I write with. And when it runs out of ink, it will no longer be what it is. All from its own side, nothing to do with me. Now, is this thing also empty? Right? Yeah, we've got the belief level of bodhicitta going on, at least, if we haven't seen emptiness directly yet. Our teachers have taught us that nothing has any nature from its own side. So yeah, this pen is empty of self-existence. Well, wait a minute, Utpala, you just said this is part of deceptive reality. And now you're saying what? It's also part of ultimate reality? No, it has emptiness. It has the quality of being empty. So it's not itself ultimate reality. We cannot say this itself is ultimate truth. So that it has, that everything has emptiness, that everything has ultimate reality, that is natural nirvana. Natural nirvana means everything, anything we can point to lacks self-existence. Everything is empty of having a nature of its own from its own side. That is natural nirvana. Is it nirvana? No, it's not the ending of mental affliction, obstacles in their entirety due to the individual analysis cessations. No, it's not nirvana. That's why it's called it's a sort of tricky word to say in Tibetan, Jejuriki Gone. Uh it's in name only. In name only, we call this nirvana. Like an enlightened being, one of their bodies is well, they all have natural nirvana, right? They all have a lack of self-existence. And they also, one of their bodies is called the cessation bodies, which is kind of cool because that links us back to uh, the cessation is due to the individual analysis of the four Arya truths. Okay, and then here's a word in Tibetan for emptiness, tongpani. Tongpani. Today is a, a special day in the Diamond Way calendar. So if everyone could say Tongpani, you can plant very powerful seeds that will hopefully ripen, if you so wish, into practicing the Diamond Way. Tongpani. Okay, that's everything. And we'll continue on with the other types of nirvana in the next class. Any questions? No questions. Okay. So I love you too. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to create amazing good bok choks on this very holy day. I'm so lucky. All because of you.
Yeah.
So let's take a moment and and dedicate all of the seeds, all the potentials we've created in this class. May they quickly ripen into the experience of complete and total freedom from negative emotions. May they ripen into omniscience. May we become the kind of being who can help all beings effortlessly, spontaneously, happily. Sashi Puki Chukshi Meto Mirabling Shin Yende Gempadi Sange Shindu Mikte Uwagi Trokun Namdak Singla Juparsho Idam Guru Ratamandala Kamniryatayami. Kewadi Kewoku Sunam Yeshe Toksokshin Sunam Yeshe Lejungwe Dampar Kunyi Topar Sho. Thank you for your interest in these courses. Thank you for coming to be with me. Thank you for your inspiration because of your practice. Thank you, live translators. You always amaze me. Thank you for your service to so many people. It would not be possible for me to do this without you. And thank you, Geshe Michael, for creating these courses. May we all reach the goal quickly. Okay, I'll see you on Friday.
Спасибо, спасибо. Наши благодарности.
How do I say my pleasure in Russian? Okay, lesson for a future day.
Это мое удовольствие. Это мое удовольствие.
Wow, that's
Ой,
long.
класс.
Effe jede, monsieur. Effe jede, monsieur. Okay, see you Friday.
Да.